Governor Sarah Palin, it's an honor. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I am a fan, so it is good for me to get to speak with you.
Well, thank you. I've been a fan a long time. I want to tell you something, because I know you're out there. Matter of fact, you were a few blocks from my home not long ago. My wife and daughter went over to see you in Leesburg, Virginia. I want you to know there are millions of us who are very proud of you, who admire you. We are disgusted with the attacks on you. But you are holding up beautifully, and they are attacking you the way they attacked Ronald Reagan, so you can wear it like a badge of honor.
Well, I thank you, and I'm really glad that your wife and daughter got to be there in Leesburg to hear us as we got to introduce Tito the Builder to the rest of the U.S. and tell his story about how it was made in the USA.
Darn right. Now, I want to ask you something. In 2001, Barack Obama said the Warren Court wasn't all that radical because, I quote, it did not break free from the essential constraints that were placed by the Founding Fathers in the Constitution, unquote. Now, Governor, he was a law professor, they say. Those constraints are called the Bill of Rights. They're called enumerated powers. They're called separation of powers. They're called federalism. If he's President of the United States, God forbid, this is me talking, not you. If he's President of the United States, God forbid, he's expected to uphold the Constitution. Now, what does this say about the kind of judges he would pick to put on the court?
Well, unfortunately, Mark, some would want to rewrite the founding document of our nation, the Constitution, to accomplish their goals, wanting to remove the ancient landmarks that have allowed our country to be the greatest country on earth. And instead, we have got to stand for the things that endure, chief among which is righteousness and justice. And we do that by making sure that our Supreme Court justices will not legislate from the bench, but will do their job in interpreting laws that the administrative branch administers and that the legislative branch have adopted.
See, you understand that. You've actually been an executive. You've been a governor, and Obama, well, he campaigns. Now, let me ask you this. I mean, they're going to appoint, or John McCain, is going to appoint about 40% of the federal bench. Now, will you pick people like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or would you pick people like Scalia and Thomas and so forth?
I would choose the latter principles that those justices represent.
Now, you know, we've got people who record this program, and they're going to say, doesn't Sarah Palin know the vice president doesn't choose Yes, we know that, and we don't need being corrected by left-wing groups. Now, I want to ask you about Senator Obama's economic philosophy. You know, he said to Joe the plumber he wants to spread the wealth. He said in 2001 repeatedly in a radio interview he wants to redistribute wealth. Isn't the purpose of government to just raise enough taxes to do what the government is supposed to do, not to play social experiments with the American people?
Well, government is not to be there for us to have to work for them. Government is supposed to be working for us. And Senator Obama, he's made so many promises, flip-flopping all over the place on his tax increase plans. But fundamentally, of course, he's got an ideological commitment to higher taxes, and he's proven that over and over again with his recorded votes and with the statements that he's made. Now, this most recent tape revealing that in 2001, he had thought even back then that government should redistribute other people's hard-earned money according to a politician's priorities. That's scary, and that does obviously squash the entrepreneurial spirit that created this uniquely American system and allowed America to be the greatest country on earth.
You know, Governor Palin, I also find it curious how they keep changing the definition of middle class. Now, people who don't pay any federal income taxes are in the middle class. Well, if they're in the middle class, aren't they supposed to pay some? And he says he's going to cut or give tax credits. You know, I can't follow how they change the language all the time. They're going to give tax credits to people who don't pay taxes. Am I living in another universe? How do you give tax credits or tax cuts to people who don't pay taxes?
Yeah, you can't do that unless you're taking from others and then redistributing that. So, you know, he was spot on finally in his candidness that Joe the plumber got him to state. But Obama making promises and flip-flopping around on the details. First, remember he said that people making less than $250,000 would benefit from his plan. And then he announced a couple days ago that it was families making less than $200,000 a year, you'd benefit. And then yesterday, though, in Pennsylvania, Biden said that tax relief should only go to middle-class people making under $150,000 a year. And before you know it, Obama's going to get right back to his vote that he cast that Americans making just $42,000 a year should get a tax increase. So we cannot let that happen.
It's constantly shifting, isn't it?
Constantly shifting, and that, of course, alludes to someone's candidness, truthfulness, judgment, trustworthiness.
You don't have to answer this question, but you have to admit, Joe Biden and his comments, I mean, they are hilarious. Not that he means to be, don't get me wrong, but he says some of the goofiest stuff. Do you agree with that? You don't have to answer that. All right. You don't have to answer. I mean, I have to say, this guy, okay, I won't put you on the hot seat, but, well, let me just say, as a matter of fact, that this guy's hilarious. He's funnier than David Letterman, and he doesn't even mean to be. All right, let me ask you this. The House Democrats.
But he is very funny, though, but also very, very wrong. Remember Biden's idea to divide Iraq into 3 different countries? I mean, anybody in their right mind would look at an idea like that and say, huh? And this guy's in the U.S. Senate serving on a Foreign Relations Committee? No, he doesn't get it.
No, he's been in the Senate since I think he was 14 years old. Now let me ask you this. He was also chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, where he was pushing through left-wing judicial nominees and putting them throughout the courts, and he was blocking originalist nominees. So a lot of these left-wing activists on the court throughout the country, there's about 1,000 federal judges, have Joe Biden's stamp of approval on it, don't they?
They do, and that would, again, based on his record, lead you to believe that he would be supportive of Barack Obama's selections of those who would be activist judges in the future.
Okay, I have 1 minute. God, I hate that. But I have 1 minute. In France, apparently Sarkozy said today, according to an Israeli newspaper, I'm reading from ABC News, a senior Israeli government source reports reaching Israel indicate that Sarkozy views the Democrats' stance on Iran as, quote, utterly immature and comprised of formulations empty of all content. That apparently is the president of France.
All right, bingo. Let's not risk that, having someone untested, untried, someone with that naivete in them when it comes to foreign relations and an understanding of the threat that is there in Iran and the threats against Israel. Let's elect John McCain, who's been tested, he's been tried, he knows how to win the war, he understands what the greatest threat is to America and to our allies. I don't want to take any chances. I've got a son over in Iraq today in a striker brigade fighting for us. I want, as his commander-in-chief, all of our commander-in-chief, the patriot, the maverick of the Senate, John McCain. Let's play it safe.
Yes, and God bless you and him. We're going to vote for both of you, and we're going to do it next week. And be safe on the campaign trail, and thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're having a ball. God bless you.
God bless you.